Well, the CIA got busted in 2012 running fake vaccine clinics in Pakistan this is, pull it up.
You gotta love that. Fake in 2012.
2012.
Man, they were ahead of the curve.
Right. Well, but USAID took the baton after this. I can tell you this whole story.
Oh, so they got to blame and just say, oh, it was USAID, sorry.
Well, they vowed not to do it, and then USAID moved into the space.
Right. All right, so what do we got here? Can we scroll up a little bit, Joe?
I got the right thing here.
All right, fake CIA vaccine campaign when the end doesn't justify the means. In early January 2013, a dozen deans from America's premier public health schools wrote President Obama a letter protesting the CIA's use of a faked vaccination campaign in the hunt for
Now, let me stop this right here.
Yeah, I know what this one is now. Yeah,
you're going to get a retail history if you look at CSIS is the military's think tank. They're a major think tank.
Oh, that's what I'm reading.
Yeah, that's what you're reading here. So here's what was happening in the background here. General David Petraeus, who would also become CIA director, declared a stated goal of collecting 85% of the biometrics of every citizen in Central Asia as part of its Afghanistan, Iraq, the works, in order to go through with a program they called identity dominance. And Joe, if you want to pull this up, run a Google image search for Afghanistan Army iris scanning, and just like leave open like the Google image, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Okay.
Oh my God.
So here's what was happening at the time. The U.S. government was waging this counterinsurgency, and the problem is they didn't have the identifiable biometrics of the population, and so when there would be huge crowds of protests, we would have satellites flying overhead, and we'd see 10,000 people on the move, but we didn't know who they were. We didn't have their eyeballs. We didn't have their blood samples. If there was a fight, or if they checked into a hospital, we weren't able to necessarily track down everything. And so Petraeus declared a doctrine, and it would carried on. It would be known as identity dominance. If you just pull up a new tab, but if you just stay on this so we can close this out, just like pull, like just zoom into any one of those, or just make it larger.
5, Joe.
And this is what was being done manually.
It's like Sean Ryan's old thumbnail.
Yeah, and you'll see this. They were literally every person they saw. The U.S. military would have to walk up to them and scan their eyeball, and so if you go to if you just go to Google and you just type in identity dominance, and then if you maybe make it like a controlled Boolean search, if you just okay, or you can do it that way. And you'll see the ability to link individuals to their past identities and activities. And this was a U.S. military concept around the need to get the biometric identifiers of literally their goal was, I think, 85% of the population in Iraq, Afghanistan, and by extension Pakistan, because Pakistan was the main training and arming ground since the days of the Mujahideen, when the CIA created the Mujahideen Islamic fundamentalist army, and then trained them in neighboring Pakistan, and then set up, BCCI and the CI proprietary banks to run the drugs and guns through. But so they were running this identity dominance program to collect all the local biometrics. And when the scandal came out, they were saying, "Oh, no, it was we were just trying to get Osama bin Laden. That's why we were using fake vaccine drives."
I'm pretty sure I saw that in Zero Dark 30 too. They got that one right in there.
But no, this was a biometric collection program. They were doing this. But again, so what the public sees as a vaccine program and a bunch of finger wagging if you don't trust vaccines. But what you have is a Central Intelligence Agency operation. And so that was 2012. It took 18 months for the Central Intelligence Agency to say that it would stop using vaccine clinics and public health facilities to run CIA operations out of. It took them 18 months for them to say we won't do that anymore, after this outcry had played out in a huge amount of time. So look at what else was going on in 2014 at that time. Just go to Google and type in USAID fake HIV clinic, Cuba.
All right, what do we got?
So CIA says, okay, we're not going to do this anymore.
Fake U.S. HIV prevention program and secret, what was that? Secret anti-Cuba scheme. Okay, go down, Joe. A report from the Associated Press revealed that the U.S. government has been secretly sending young Latin Americans to Cuba under the guise of health and civics programs, including an HIV prevention workshop, in hopes of provoking political change in the country. Advocates say the scheme could undermine international trust of U.S. global health efforts for years to come. According to documents from the investigation, since 2009, USAID has paid nearly a dozen young people from Venezuela, Costa Rica, and Peru to work undercover and scout for people they could turn into political activists.
And then I'm going to read this one here.
Sure.
According to interviews with staff members, the U.S. government sent some workers into Cuba under the disguise of tourists. In another case, workers were told to set up an HIV workshop, which memos called, quote, the perfect excuse for perpetuating the U.S. government's goals. The perfect excuse, HIV prevention workshops. Now, USAID does these public health programs in every country in the world, effectively. It's one of the top programs at USAID by expenditures, all these public health programs.